How are recording in progress? I am going to record this today for my own learning, and also I'm going to post it on YouTube. And the replay will be live, obviously, in the replay will be in the group for you to watch forever. So I have a huge apology to make. I put this on the wrong day. I had always had it in my calendar for the 16th, but when I set the event up, I set it up for the 17th. So I am very sorry if that has, if you were hoping to attend live and because of my planning and administration skills, that won't be able to happen for you. So I do apologize ahead of time. I think this just goes to prove that even the most mind-managed amongst us make mistakes. We get things wrong. I too am human, and sometimes kind of pains me a little bit to admit that, because I kind of wish I was perfect, just like you wish you're perfect. So let's talk about you. Let's talk about you, and very much more specifically, your emotions. Because you are a human being, which means that you will have human emotions. You can't not have emotions. And you may know people who really avoid or think that they are numbed to emotions. Maybe they've been conditioned or raised or programmed to believe that emotions are weak or soft or unimportant. And I coach a number of men who feel that when they show their emotions, they're showing a sign of weakness. And there will be women that have been conditioned this way too. But in my society and what I've observed, it is definitely, or has been commonplace in raising boys. And I want to call bullshit on that. Excuse my language. I do have a potty mouth. It's not my intention to offend. But I want to call bullshit on it, because as humans, we are designed to have the whole range of human emotions, right? We are designed to be angry. We are designed to be frustrated, to feel sad, to feel down and depressed sometimes. We are designed to feel excited and joy and peace and love. You can't have one without the other. And how that relates to sugar is that the craving that you experience for sugar is an emotion. It is an emotion, just like all the other emotions you experience in your life. So the reason I get passionate about talking about emotions is because how you deal with one emotion will be how you deal with all of them. So if you're not managing your sugar cravings, if you're reacting and responding to your cravings, you will also be reacting and responding to other emotions in your life. If you're trying to avoid the sugar cravings by having anything in the house, you will be also trying to avoid other emotions in your life. So what I would really love to teach you today, if you don't take away anything, is that it is okay to experience an emotion, whether you label it as negative or positive. It doesn't matter how you perceive that emotion, the same thing is happening, whether it's love, joy, or excitement, or whether it's hate, frustration, and sadness. The emotion is happening the same in your body. It's been created by a thought in your head that is now vibrating in your body. Only in society we label some as good and some as bad. So the other important thing to, I think, point out is an emotion is the reason why we do or don't do something. What I mean by that is, it's our emotions that drive all of our actions or create an inaction. So if you were to I'm just going to check to see if I can see if I'm live on my phone. I can't see anything. So what I mean by this is that our emotions drive all of our actions or our inactions. So the reason why you want to eat, say, chocolate, use chocolate as an example, the reason you want to eat chocolate is because of the way you think it's going to make you feel. So you think it's going to make you feel relaxed or comforted or indulgent, like you want to kind of escape for a little bit. You want to have that comfort and that kind of safety from it. So it's trying to get that emotion that drives the action. Or you might be feeling maybe anxious or a little bit stressed or worried. You don't want to feel that emotion, so let's try and get rid of it by eating the sugar. So this is where our craving sits, right? We have the cravings for sugar. So you want to eat the chocolate, or you want to eat the biscuits, or you want to eat all the cake, all the fizzy drinks. You feel that craving in your body and you want to try and eliminate it. So you try and get rid of it by giving it what it wants. And you could kind of argue that temporarily it does get rid of it, because as you eat the chocolate, you'll go, oh, and that craving disappears. But what you're actually doing, every time you respond to that emotion, it heightens that emotion. So your brain's like, well, that worked, let's do more of it. So every time you respond to a craving, you are enhancing the craving. You're perpetuating that cycle. You're making it worse for yourself. So what you're going to understand by the end of this workshop is, first of all, what that emotion is and a tool of how to deal with it, because you don't have to respond to it. First of all, let's understand what an emotion is. Like, what is an emotion? So there are different sensations in our body. There are physical sensations. There's a physical feeling in our body, and there are emotional sensations and emotional feelings. So I'm going to talk about the emotional ones, but I need to address both of them for your understanding. So a physical sensation starts in the body. So a physical sensation could be your stomach is empty, it rumbles, and it sends a message up to your brain to say, we need food. So it starts in the body and sends a message up to the brain. Or it could be that you cut yourself and the sensors in your hand send a message up to the brain to say, quick, we need help. We need your soldiers to come down and start knitting and fixing us. So that's a message going from the body up to the head. So it starts in the body and goes up to the head. That is a physical sensation. A physical sensation is pain, starts in the body, goes up to the head. An emotional sensation is the other way around. So it starts in the head with a thought or a memory, like maybe you remember something, that's a thought. Even if you're unconscious of it, you might hear a song and unconsciously be reminded of something that sends a vibration into your body. So these thoughts won't necessarily be conscious to you. You might not even be aware of them until you start to look at them. But you'll have a thought, something like, I don't want to feel bad. I don't want to feel stressed. I don't want to feel the craving. Eating the sugar will make me feel better. So that sends a vibration down to your body. Or it could be something like maybe someone shouting at you. Your brain interprets them shouting as a threat. And so you then feel like on the defensive. Or you might think, they shouldn't be talking to me that way, which is going to create the emotion of anger in your body. So an emotional sensation starts in the head and sends the vibration down into your body. So that is the difference between a physical sensation and an emotional sensation. And I think so many people think that if they experience a negative emotion, they're going to spiral down into this big hole, big black hole, and never come out of it. They think that if they start to cry, or they start to feel angry, or they start to grieve, or they start to feel anxious, that they're going to fall into this big, deep black hole and never escape. But that simply isn't true. Actually, avoiding this black hole creates more negativity, and I'm going to come on to that in just a second. So just be aware if this is you. Just be aware if you're avoiding those negative emotions because you think if you experience them, you're never gonna be able to move past them. Just have that in your mind for a second. Because what I'd like to teach you next is that life is like, I'm going to use a pie. We're trying to avoid sugar, but let's go with a pie. And this pie is 50-50. Half the time we are designed to feel positive, and half the time we are designed to feel negative. This is our human experience. Remember, you can't have one without the other. Let me put my blind down because I think the light is, whilst I don't like to cut out sunlight, I think it's particularly glaring. Better, there we go. So you can't, you wouldn't know, you wouldn't know love if you hadn't experienced hate. You wouldn't know peace if you hadn't experienced stress. You wouldn't know joy if you hadn't experienced anger. You can't have one without the other. Only we live in a society where we think we should always be happy. We should always be positive. And I think that is one of the most toxic sentences we have in our current society today. Because what happens then is when we feel anxious, sad, angry, embarrassed, maybe shame, we think something's gone wrong. We think something's gone wrong because we should always be happy. Nothing has gone wrong when you experience a negative emotion. I'm going to say this again because this is so important. Nothing has gone wrong when you experience a negative emotion. And I need to hear this for myself as well. Because when I feel self-doubt, or I feel scared, or I start to find myself worrying about the future, especially doing the work I do, I could very easily then start to beat myself up. Something's gone wrong. You know, this isn't going to work. It's not happening. I should be positive. I should be the one that's always, you know, able to get myself out of it. But it's simply not the case. We are human. We have human emotions by design. So nothing has gone wrong when you experience a negative emotion. That emotion will be caused by a thought you're having in your head, but that's not another reason to beat yourself up. That's a reason to just get really fascinated and go, okay, if I'm creating this, maybe I can create something else. If I'm creating this experience, maybe I could create that experience. And when you're willing to be courageous enough and bold enough to get curious and fascinated about your emotions, then there is nothing that you can't achieve. If you're willing to experience the negative emotion, understanding that nothing has gone wrong, there is nothing in your life that will stop you getting what you want. whether that's a smaller body, a healthier mindset, better sleep, a job promotion, more clients, better relationships. It's only ever a negative emotion that stops us, and we think we should always be positive, so we then make more negativity out of feeling negative. So let's, for example, take sugar cravings, because that's obviously why we're all here. The craving is perceived to be negative. You don't like the feel of it, you try and get rid of it. We want to move away from it. So what happens then is we extend this area over here, because we're not feeling positive, so we're not going into this space. We don't want to feel negative, so we create this extra space over here. And we call this space buffering. It could be avoidance. But buffering is any activity that you do to avoid an emotion. So you're trying to avoid and eliminate the craving for sugar. But actually what happens is you eat the sugar and then the judgment starts. The criticism starts. You start beating yourself up, questioning, why did I do it? I shouldn't be like it. I should be different. I know better. I'm old enough to know better, was something that someone said to me the other day. And then you've got the physical effect of eating the chocolate and the biscuits. The weight gain, the sleepless nights, the bloated belly, the brain fog, the irritability. Maybe it's affecting your hormones. Maybe it's exaggerating medical conditions. Sugar has an inflammatory effect. So what happens is we actually end up creating more negativity for ourselves. By trying to avoid the craving, we create more negativity. So then our life becomes more like 70-30. So 70% of the time we're negative and 30% of the time we're positive. And what I would like to offer is that we get comfortable feeling uncomfortable. We get comfortable in this negative space. We don't need to avoid it. We don't need to try and eliminate it. We don't need to get rid of it. Then we come back to the 50-50. And actually, when you get comfortable feeling uncomfortable, this side might increase, because then you start to feel like a bit of a badass. Now, I know that there are parts of your life where you already feel like a badass. But when you start to get comfortable with your sugar cravings without eliminating and responding and trying to get rid of them, you feel pretty good about yourself. You feel a little bit unstoppable, and it's kind of like, right, that was amazing. If I can do this, I can do anything. So you create more positivity for yourself. So then it might become maybe 60-40. And then if you figure out your sugar cravings, you're like, whoa, what else can I apply this to? You know, maybe it's okay to experience the nerves of presenting. And then you experience the buzz of presenting. So now you're going to 70-30. But not until you've learned the skill of allowing and accepting and sitting with the negative emotion. So here's what we do when we experience a negative emotion, what we perceive to be a negative emotion. So I've covered in previous lives and speakings and content that it's your thoughts that create your feelings. So life gives you circumstances, it gives you situations and events that you have no control over. That situation is actually completely neutral. And what I mean by that is other people will experience the same circumstance and have different emotions about it. The reason that happens is because it's our brain and our thoughts and our interpretation that creates the emotion. So that circumstance could be the weather, equipment breaking down. I'm struggling at the moment with my tech. That is my neutral circumstance. It could be bereavement, illness. Your body is a circumstance. How big or small you are is a neutral circumstance. Other people will have different opinions about it. Therefore, it's neutral. Until your brain gets involved. Your brain gives you thoughts. Those thoughts create an emotion. How you feel drives your actions. And depending on what you do or don't do, gives you a result in your life. So that's how the world is working. Only we're not taught that. We are saying, oh, isn't, you know, we, especially here in the UK, isn't the rain miserable? As if the rain were pushing an emotion into our body. But the rain isn't miserable. That's our opinion. That's our interpretation. And when you think that, you feel rubbish. But there are people that rejoice when it's raining. I actually love it when it rains, especially in sort of the spring and the summer months, because it means I don't have to water my garden. It means I don't have to spend time hosing my plants. So I'm actually like, yes, it's raining. Maybe not when the washing's on the line, but you get to choose. The point is you get to choose. But this is what happens when you notice an emotion within your body. And if you're one of the people that have been conditioned to try and avoid your emotions, or you've been taught that actually emotions are useless, then this is going to be trickier or more challenging for you to get your head around, to start to learn, how does my body feel? What is this emotion? How is it? But just be kind to yourself and give yourself time to practice. Because once you know you're feeling something, this is generally what we then do. I had it down as 3, but actually that we indulge in it as well. So I changed it to 4. But so the first thing that we might do is try and resist it. Be like, oh, I don't want to feel this. I don't want to feel this emotion. So we're going to try and resist it. And that just creates more tension. We sort of think about locking it in a box, putting it away, and never thinking about it again. That would be avoiding completely. But that resistance is, oh my God, I don't want to feel this way. And we sort of use our willpower to try and grind our way through it. Or we react to it. So we eat the sugar, or we shout and scream if we're angry, or we pace up and down if we're worried. Resisting might be like, if you're experiencing grief, resisting might be that feeling of, oh, I want to cry, but I can't cry, so I'm just going to push it back down again. That would be resisting. Reacting would be, reacting would also be looking like crying, maybe a bit more dramatically. But reacting is then eating the sugar, waving our hands about, getting angry, or we just completely avoid it. So we're like, no, that's not happening. I'm going to lock it in a box and shut it away. And what we can also do is indulge. So indulgent emotions are things like worry, overwhelm, anxiety could be classed as an indulgent emotion. Whilst it definitely doesn't feel indulgent, it doesn't feel good, it does kind of, in some ways, keep us safe. But it also keeps us very stuck. An indulgent emotion doesn't create any momentum at all. And especially with worry, people are like, no, this is really important, Nikki, I have to worry, as if worrying is going to create the action that they need to take to stay safe. But worry doesn't create any action. Worry looks more like you're sat thinking about it over and over again and not actually taking any proactive action to change the situation if you're able to. And if you're not able to change the situation, then how does worrying about it help anyway? It's a complete waste of time, worry. Overwhelm usually comes in when it's a time thing, or we're trying to learn something new. And when we feel overwhelmed, generally we don't do anything. So we don't plan our time, we don't focus our time, we don't do something to learn. So overwhelm, worry, they all keep us safe and trying to keep us safe, but completely useless emotions. So we don't really want to do any of these. What we want to do is learn how to allow the emotion to be present. We don't have to resist it. We don't have to react to it. We certainly don't have to avoid it. And we don't need to indulge in it either. So I want you to imagine for a second, this works quite well for me in my head. I want you to imagine that let's take your cravings. Your craving for sugar is like a waterfall. So it starts in your head, and it's created because of that thought, I just want something sweet, or it's a treat, it's a reward, it'll make me feel better. So that thought comes into our head. So that starts the water flowing, and that water goes down into your body, and you start to experience the craving. At that point, if you try and avoid that emotion and you literally try and resist it and lock it away, you create a dam. So you create a dam and you literally lock that emotion into your body, because it doesn't go anywhere. If you've got a visualization that you're going to lock it in a box and put that box up on the shelf, that isn't happening. You're locking it in your body. And we all know that if you stop the flow of water and you've got a pocket of water, it starts to stagnate. It starts to turn bad. And this is exactly the same thing that happens in your body. When you lock an emotion away and you try and avoid it, it just starts to get more negative and physically negative within your body. But if you allow that to open up and you allow it to flow through and continue flowing through, that water is clear, that emotion is clear. And I like to take it a little bit of a step further, and I imagine it coming down through my head. I'm feeling it in my body, I'm allowing it to be there, and then it just flows down my fanny and it disappears. So I like to imagine it's flowing. The whole point of this is that emotions flow. They come in and they go out. If it works for you to go the other way, like some people say with grief, like it bubbles up and it kind of gets stuck and they're like, oh no, I have to push that back down again. Let it flow up and out. You don't have to vocalize it. You don't have to verbalize it. The same with anger. If you're feeling angry and it's bubbling, it's bubbling, it's bubbling, it's kind of stuck in your throat and you really want to say something, you don't actually have to say something, because that would be reacting from it. You can just, in your mind, visualize that emotion and just allowing it to be free, allowing that sensation to come out of your mouth. You don't actually have to say anything, but having that visualization in your head allows it to flow. So whichever way works for you, finding that flow of energy, finding that flow of emotion. It comes in, you feel it, it goes out. It comes in, you feel it, and it goes out. That is the healthy flow of emotions. And we think that when we're reacting to something, that's getting rid of it, but it isn't getting rid of it. That is, you don't really feel a peace on the other side necessarily. It's that releasing it and, first of all, acknowledging it, accepting it's there, and then releasing it, that gives you the peace on the other side. And it doesn't last. On average, an emotion lasts for about 90 seconds. In my experience with my sugar cravings, when I started this work and they were at their worst, I reckon about a minute, maybe not even a minute, maybe sort of 40, 50 seconds. I would really focus on relaxing into the emotion, breathing, letting it be there. And when you allow the emotion to be there, it releases you. Whereas when you lock it away, it's got nowhere to go. So this is how to deal with your emotions. Any emotions, the good ones, the bad ones, if that's what you want to label them as. You could just say it's a vibration in your body. But learning how to allow them is a vital skill for humanity. I think, I really do, because is our emotions that are driving all our actions. And at the moment, you're allowing your emotions to be in the driver's seat of your car and then moaning about the consequence. So this is how you allow your emotions. You quite literally ask yourself these questions. And like I said, if you've never done anything like this before, this will be quite challenging for you. I can remember when I first started this with my husband and I was trying to get him to explain his sugar craving. He was like, what do you mean? Like, where do I feel it in my body? I don't, what, you know, he just didn't get it because he had never thought about his emotions like that. He had been, you know, raised that you don't have emotions. So when you, and it can be quite uncomfortable to kind of shine that light on it, but this is what gives you the control over it. So where in your body do you feel it? So for me, when I experience the craving for sugar, I actually feel it here in the top of my arms. And I have this sort of sensation in my diaphragm. So in those two places. And is it a hard or is it a soft sensation? So for me, it's quite soft. It's not hard. It's not heavy. It's a very fast. So the next question, is it fast or slow? It's a very fast kind of buzzing, light buzzing in the top of my arms here, and this kind of pulling sensation in my diaphragm, like it's pulling me towards the chocolate. And does it move around? Like, do you notice? Is it a buzzing? Is it a movement, or is it stationary for you? Is it hot or is it cold? So mine is definitely hot. My when they're really strong, sometimes it's like a wave of heat that just comes up through my body, but most of the time it's like here, and it's like a hot buzzing discomfort. And you can give it a color. Like, does it have a color? So mine's like a metallic silver. So that metallic silver buzz. And when you think of it like that, that's no big deal. You could deal with that for 90 seconds. Even if I were to sort of inject you with the strongest craving, you could sit there for 90 seconds and surrender to it and breathe into it. And by surrender, I don't mean respond. I don't mean surrender to it telling you to eat the chocolate. I mean surrender to the emotion. Sort of resign yourself to the fact that it's there, because fighting against it isn't going to work. It's just going to add more tension. So it's okay. Remind yourself, nothing has gone wrong here when I experience the craving for sugar. I'm feeling that way because I'm really believing I need something sweet, or I want something sweet, or it's a treat. But that's not true either. You don't actually want something sweet. You don't want the weight gain, the irritability, the tiredness, the sluggish, the lack of energy, the bloating, the brain fog, the sleepless nights. You don't want that. So you don't really want the sweet thing. So just be a little bit honest with yourself there. And then just allow the emotion to be present, and it disappears. And you think the more that you do that, the better you get at doing that, the shorter the experience becomes. So the weaker the craving gets, the shorter that it's even present. And by the time you started this process, it'll be gone. You then don't need to eat the chocolate. You don't need to eat the biscuits. Or you don't need to carry on eating the chocolate or carry on eating the biscuits. So this is how you stop eating away your emotions. And if you know that you're eating to try and feel better, you can do this practice with the emotion that you're trying to avoid. If it's because you're feeling lonely or guilty or shame or embarrassment, that is the cause of you eating sugar. Until you address that cause and learn to accept it and release it, whatever action you take isn't ever going to work. Because really, eating sugar is just a symptom. The real problem lies underneath. And when you learn, and when you learn this process and you learn that actually there is no negative emotion that you can't deal with, you then don't need to reach for the sugar in order to feel better. You don't need to eat away your emotions. So I really hope that this helps you, and you could literally take this away and start applying it to your life today. You could literally, this afternoon, when you have that urge for your cup of tea and bit of biscuit, you could take this process and apply it straight away. However, because you are human, I also know your human brain is going to try and talk to you and convince you to do something different, your primal part of your brain. And a lot of you won't actually know what those unconscious thoughts are. You will think you are just explaining the news. Like, I was walking down the aisle and I just had to have something sweet, as if that were a fact. Or I don't know what happened. I just had to walk into the shop and before I knew it, it was in my basket. Or I was sat on the sofa and I just don't know what caused me to get up and go and get that. Go to the cupboard and get myself the biscuits. And that's where I can come in to help you. Because I know you know what you should or shouldn't be doing when it comes to what you put into your mouth. I know that you know that. I also know that in other areas of your life, you're a bit of a badass, and you know deep down inside you what's right for you. And you know that you just know that it's your mindset that's getting in the way. And that's where having a life coach can really benefit, because I can show you those unconscious thoughts. I can show you what you can't see. And this doesn't just affect your sugar cravings. This is having an effect on your whole life. This is having an effect on your relationships, on your time management, on how you're spending your money. And we can address all of that. You can get control of your sugar cravings and get control of the rest of your life. And I know deep down there's a part of you that's like, that's what I want to do. That's what I want to do. That's what I need to do. And if that's you, then find that courage to take the first step and get in touch with me. Because we can have a consultation. In that hour, I will be able to uncover a lot of your unconsciousness. And you can learn how we can change what you're so desperate to change. And your primal brain is not going to want to do that. Just like it wants you to eat all the chocolate and keep eating the biscuits and keep eating all the fizzy drinks, it is not going to want you to change. It likes how you are. It's familiar. It's safe. But if you're feeling shit, if you're feeling like absolute crap, and you know that you want to change, I can help you. So please do not hesitate to get in touch. I will put a link to book a consult in the comments below this, and find that courage, find that brave, bold side of yourself that's going to enable you to click on that link and book a time slot and have a chat with me. I cannot wait to meet you. If you have any other questions, again, please don't hesitate to get in touch. I go live every Wednesday morning at about 9 o'clock, 10 past 9, something like that. And any questions that I get, I will respond in that time. I'll respond in typing as well, but it's just easier for me to explain some things. So any questions, please feel free to get in touch. I can't wait to help you. Have an amazing day. Thank you. Bye.